Hello there everyone, this is UXW Bill, and I know already some of you are uncontrollably excited to have heard those words coming from this channel after it told you there was a new video, but I want you to know right out of the gate that I've been in good spirits, good health, all those sorts of things. I've been blessed to have a regular and continual job throughout these trying times, as yes, I am one of those essential workers. But my personal and professional lives are full of things lately that have just been keeping me incredibly busy. We'll open this video up with some news. We'll start with the small news first. My long-serving HDR PJ200 Handycam, or Candyham if you happen to prefer, finally bought the farm. And so it is through the generosity of another YouTuber who can name themselves if they so desire in the comments area, that I have another working camcorder to shoot videos with. That was another thing that kind of kept me from making videos. I was looking around in the market, and then this offer was kindly made to me and I accepted. So we're probably going to find out that I have absolutely no idea how to use the camcorder that I'm operating right now. In the bigger news, folks, this is probably the biggest news there has ever been on this channel. The Roach Palace's days are numbered. This is, I don't even know how you begin to say it other than to say it's an answer to prayers. I have been trying to get this to happen for the longest time. I've had it arranged several times. It's fallen through every time for reasons as simple as people having a falling out with one another. The two guys that I had hired to do this, they apparently got into a bad argument with one another, and that was the end of that. I had another gentleman lined up to tear this down, and he ended up dying of cancer. So it's just been one thing after another. But finally I have somebody who's been here. As you can see, they've started salvaging the siding off of the old Roach Palace. And speaking of the Roach Palace, and I hope you'll watch this part of the video and not just fast forward through it, it seems like there's a lot of misinformation around about just what exactly the Roach Palace is, where it came from, those sorts of things. There was an elderly gentleman lived here until sometime in the mid-2000s. That's when I bought the house and the two lots. The house was a freebie. It was the lots that I ended up paying for. And I went into this thinking, you know, I'm going to save this house. I'm going to bring it around. But the more and more I got into it, just the worse and worse and worse it got. There are so many things that were wrong with this house, and it's just fallen into worse repair over time. For a while, the keykeeper, Furhead, and myself had a pretty nice man cave in one of the rooms upstairs. But then the electricity started to have problems, and you'll get to see more about that here shortly. The foundation on the old house is no good. I'll show you here in a little bit how the floor has pulled away from a corner of the bedroom over here on the first floor because it was only ever held up with a cinder block. And when I bought this place, not long after getting the keys and going inside for the first time, I could hear rustling around in the ceiling above the kitchen. And at first I thought it was my brothers playing some kind of a trick on me. But it turned out no. When Furhead and I ripped down the kitchen ceiling, we found it packed from one end to the other with squirrel nest. And once we got all that out of there, then we discovered that it was heavily water damaged. No one has ever lived here. The man cave is the furthest it's ever gone. We watched movies up there, surfed the web, played around with Project Panopticon, if you can remember that. It's going back into the file a ways. But yeah, this place is finally coming down, and don't think I'm not thrilled by the idea. A lot of people think that I lived in the Roach Palace or live in the Roach Palace. Nope, never did. Some people even said on one of the keykeeper's more recent videos that, hey, you really fixed the Roach Palace up nice. Nope, that's not where the keykeeper lives. And then I have people that ask me about house tours. I guess there are some people out there in the world that just don't have any concept of why someone wouldn't want to do that. Probably younger people that don't fully understand, but I can't shake the notion that some people are just incredibly nosy. It's not something I'm going to do, and I'm only doing it here because this place is coming down and I'd like some kind of historical record. You know, people got on me about the things that I did here with the air conditioner controllers and stuff, not understanding that I was never going to keep this house. By then I knew how bad things were. They tore out a thing here that separated the two rooms the other day. And just to give you a small taste of how classy the electrical here is, look what they found coming out of the floor. Now there's really nothing wrong with that, especially in an old house. But they just covered this up with a wall. And yeah, that's all there is to it. It's just two wires. I don't even know that they're taped off. I haven't gotten down to look at it. But a house is a private thing. And I don't really want to be inviting a community of some people who, in some cases, you never know who's watching. And they might not be the most savory characters. And I don't need creeps or trouble. I already had vandals in this house once, and they could have done a lot worse than they did. But you can see just the amount of trouble here. This house has always had a serious moisture problem. When I was still thinking that I could bring it around and save it, you can see how this paneling has just buckled here. And no, this is not because the roof has leaked. I'll show you more in just a little bit. But I would have the air conditioning and a large capacity dehumidifier here running, and it just couldn't do anything for it. This place was just constantly damp. And when I tore off the paneling in here, you see what I found. Yeah, it's black mold. It's not good. Here's the really classy part, though, that I promised to show you. Look at what the floor's done. It's pulled off the bottom of the house. I didn't even know that was possible. I took off the skirting boards around the bottom there on the outside to see what I could see. And I learned that the only thing supporting it was basically a cinder block. And that's it. That's all there was. And I don't know if you can see them on video. I don't know if I can get any of them on video. Oh, there's one. I saw one go by. The flies and the bugs in here are just unreal. I don't know what's attracting them. I know there are raccoons living in parts of this house. Here's damage from a roof leak. That's what's left of the kitchen. That's pretty bad. The gentleman who was here tearing this down with his tractor, I wish I'd have gotten footage of what he did. He just pushed on it and it fell right over in on itself. So yeah, this can't be gone soon enough. This is probably the nicest part of the house right here. This cedar-lined closet under the stairs. One of the few places in this house that ever smelled good. That was another thing. This house has always had a smell to it. And I don't really even know how to describe it other than it's just bad. And I think I know where some of it came from. There used to be a rug in here. Furhead and I rolled this up and took it out of here. When we handled that rug, it was just greasy beyond belief, and it stunk. And it had kind of a salty thing about it, and I hate to think this, but I'm afraid that it was probably being used as a bathroom by someone's dog from the people who lived here previously. But we rolled that rug up and took it out to the country and burned it. And even then, the rug kind of smelled like urine. This wooden floor still smells like urine right now. This is just bad. It was my father and the key keeper that took the windows out of the old house. The folks we hired to demolish it asked us to do that. I don't know why they didn't want to just tear it down with the windows in it, unless maybe that makes a mess or there's some environmental consideration. They've been in here tearing paneling off. I'm not about to go up those stairs, not as much as I weigh. I may send an envoy up there later, someone who weighs less than I do. But here you can really see again, and this is damp to the touch. Of course, this house is just sitting on dirt, but there's more to it than that. We'll get to that here in just a moment. I feel like I'm trying to cram all of this information into the video to try and stave off any unanswered questions or things along those lines. And I know there's something that invariably I'm going to miss. Somebody's probably going to ask, well, why didn't you save that stove back there? That stove's a gas stove. I was raised on electric stoves. I've never had a good experience with a gas stove. Maybe I've never used a good gas stove. I don't know. But that one, the oven worked okay. but it did not have enough horsepower to bring a pot of water to the boil. And it wasn't a gas pressure or adjustment issue, because I checked all of those things out. That's where the kitchen used to be. Over there is the bathroom. Again, when I was still thinking that this place could be saved and brought around, the keykeeper and I were in there gutting the bathroom. We ripped everything out. The bathroom was carpeted, which is just gross. I don't know why people carpet a bathroom. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me. No offense to you if your bathroom's carpeted and you love it, but I just don't understand the rationale behind something like that. But we ripped up the plywood because the toilet had frozen and burst. We hauled that out of there, got rid of the shower, got rid of the nasty vanity, the rotten cabinets. And he was standing on a floor joist, and all of a sudden it shifted down about 3 inches. That's not good. We have here the remnants of an old furnace. I saved the other furnace because it was basically brand new. Went ahead and hauled that off and stashed it somewhere. This one, I get the feeling it hadn't been used in years by the time that I came to own this house. Because when I went to fire this up, I was curious. Unusually brave, too. I mean, you had to stick your head right in between here and the wall to see inside the burner box and light the pilot. And if anything went wrong, you were certainly going to lose your eyebrows at the very least. But I looked inside this heat exchanger with a flashlight just to see if I could find anything obviously wrong with it. And it was just packed full of bird nest and similar material. I wasn't really sure I should go ahead with my plan to light it, but I did, and it worked fine. I had a CO alarm in here. It never went off, never showed any sign of there being any kind of a problem, although I'm sure that this thing was about as inefficient as you can imagine. It would probably be more productive energy-wise to just set fire to a pile of money directly than it would have been to turn this thing up. But it smoked like a train for probably 2 or 3 hours, and then it finally settled down, evidently cleaned itself out, and works fine. The thing I always thought was interesting about this, look what they used for a thermal control. Looks like a modified water heater control. They just put a remote control shaft on it so that you could adjust the temperature from here. This was made by Chattanooga Royal. I don't think they're in business anymore. I'll take a moment here and I'll get the thing up off the floor so you can read it. Alright, there it is if you have any interest in it whatsoever. You can look at the model number, the serial number, BTU input and output. You can also read the lighting instructions if you have one of these and you're wondering. Now here we are on the outside again, and to my amazement there is actually some insulation inside the walls of the old house, but it's far from being universally applied. I don't know if this house was subject to some sort of an event that resulted in significant damage to portions of it, because over here they actually tore down all the old lath and plaster, got rid of it entirely, and replaced it with this drywall. But anywhere that they simply covered over the old lath and plaster, they didn't bother to insulate it at all, which is the majority of the house. And of course this thing was extremely drafty, not least of which because the windows were all rotten. Had carpets of moss growing on them. I guess I should have known better, but I like old houses. I admire old houses. I want to do the best I can to keep an old house going, and I think it takes a special person to live in and especially maintain an old house. But this one is just too far gone. And that's to say nothing of the bugs. The origin of the name Roach Palace actually comes from an event that transpired here in the kitchen. Unfortunately, this is gone now, so I can't show you. But I can definitely tell you and try to describe what it was. My brothers and I carried a couch over here, and we left it in the kitchen. We were going to carry it into the living room later on. When I came back over here a few hours later to do that, the entire kitchen was just teeming with roaches. They were on the floors, they were on the walls, they were on the couch, they were on everything. And there are I don't like bugs to start with anyway. There are very few bugs that I hate as much as I do roaches. And I had, no pun intended, a twitching fit of the willies. Oh, there we go with the airplane. I had a twitching fit of the willies. I shut the light off and I left. And then my brothers and I came back over here with our boots on. And when we returned, it was then that we staged what would have looked to the untrained eye like a poor man's version of Riverdance. Oh yeah, we were stomping as many roaches as we could possibly manage. And after that, I went through and I aggressively bug bombed this whole house, which certainly got the problem under control, but still certainly did not end up solving it. And I think we can attribute that to two things, the first of which is no longer here. When they went to remodel this house, and by that I mean side it, there was a window that ran from ceiling to floor length right here in front of the kitchen sink. They took the bottom half of that window out, and they simply left the wood frame there, and the only thing between it and the outdoors was this loosely fitted metal siding. And there were plenty of mouse traps and stuff under there. I'm not surprised that they had mice and other problems. But the other thing that's going on here, and I'll try to show you this, there's one of these under the stove, which you can't see since it fell over. And then there's another one here. If I lift this metal up, you can see that's a cistern. And the other one, we believe, is a well. We dropped a rock down there one day and we heard it hit water. So we know that there's something going on there. The man who's tearing down the house is going to fill those in. He's going to grade and finish off the whole thing and really make it look nice, which will certainly be a dramatic improvement over this complete and utter disaster. Yeah, it looked better than this when I bought it, but not by much. Unless you happen to be thinking that, well, it's better than it looks, it can't possibly be that bad, although why you would be thinking that, I don't know. Let me show you this. I'm going to push on this wall. Yeah, look at that. As I said, I wish I'd have gotten footage of it, but when that man pushed on this with his tractor, he lifted up the roof a little bit, and this wall here just crumbled down, as did the porch and everything else that was here. we have the looky-loos in spades. Mosquitoes aplenty too. There's a confirmation of my suspicions about how they wired the place on this side. They did the same thing on the other side too, only they decided they were going to tuck it between the baseboard and the carpet and wrap the whole bundle in electrical tape. There's the wall with the heater on it. Poor old thing is no more. I did a little research on Chattanooga Royal. Apparently they were in business up until 1993, at least locally around the area they were from in Tennessee. They apparently began as, I believe, the Chattanooga Implement Company, and then changed their name sometime later on, maybe in the 1950s. I've slept since I read all this, so don't take it as gospel. In fact, being as I'm a professional bad example operating on a closed course, don't take it as anything. And yes, for anyone in the viewing audience who happens to be wondering, there is no asbestos anywhere in the old house. You know, it just might be possible to say that Tupperware is worth the money. Well, there it is, folks, in all its ruined glory. The old gas stove. You know, the oven actually worked pretty well on this thing. I remember when I foolishly decided to set this thing to self-clean in the midst of summer. And I had air conditioners going in the house. Even with them running, within an hour or two, it was cooler outside at 100 degrees Fahrenheit than it was in the house. That was with the air conditioners running. But the stovetop on this thing just never It didn't have the power, but even then it came in handy a couple times. There was a night that I was cooking some pasta over at the other house on the good old 71 hot point, and the power went off and stayed off. So we ran over to the Roach Palace, which by then the kitchen was leaking like a sieve, and we lit this thing by hand, and we were cooking a ceiling picot tea came down in sheets. And I remember thinking the whole time, golly, I hope the power doesn't come back on, because I'll bet one of us is going to get shocked, if not all of us. I had the key keeper over, keeping watch for, I don't know, raccoons, roaches, whatever you might have. The electricity coming back on, who knows. This whole thing was made in 1993, if I'm remembering correctly. That seems pretty late to me for a mechanical timer. The glass is all broken, but I'm going to pull that out of there and see who made that movement, because I'm kind of curious. I can't imagine it would still run. Toward the end of the time that this thing was plugged in, it sounded like it was full of rocks or something, so I'm thinking the mechanism is probably rusted solid by now. But yeah, we'll pull that out of there and have a look a little bit later for the clock nerd that's inside all of us, or most of us around here, maybe. Oh, I'm the only one? Well, stop looking at me like that. Well, alright folks, it's been a good few weeks since we last had an update on this. Although thanks to the magic of video editing, you'd never know that. Unfortunately, I ended up missing the part I'm sure you all would have liked to have seen the most. Watching the main portion of the house come down. I wasn't expecting them here tonight to do this. Oh, I wish I could have seen it. I would have loved to have known just how much of a fight the old place would have put up. Judging by the looks of it, I'd say not a whole heck of a lot, really. Wow. Just absolutely wow. Unbelievable. Oh, I'm so glad it's making another major step toward being gone, though, believe you me. Wow. And the new garage is in fine fettle. I had no idea they were going to do this, or I'd have been here to watch the place come down. Oh my God. Alright folks, I thought I'd go ahead and wander around a little bit here in the morning when there's definitely more sunlight to work with. And after having picked up the real camcorder yet again, just to take a better look at what's been left behind. I got to wondering last night if I'd gotten everything I wanted out of the living room closet, but I think I did, and even if I didn't, it's a bit late for that now. They say they'll be bringing in another dumpster today. I expect it may take 2 or 3 more. Oh, how I wish I would have seen it come down. I have no idea for sure how old the house was. I'd love to know how long it's been since all this earth has seen the sunlight. There's very little doubt in my mind that it won't take long at all for the grass to grow, assuming there's been any dormant seed under there, or maybe some will transfer over through the wind, the rain, the working of the soil, that kind of thing. Funny how unrecognizable it becomes. Probably can't see it because it's backlit. Nope, you can see it now. I think that's the carpet that was on the steps going upstairs when there wasn't upstairs. As we had all the utility locating done. Oh, look, there's stupid dog. Actually, if that dog was stupid, it'd be an improvement. Look at that beam. There's the brick foundation, or what's left of it. That was probably the single biggest problem this place had. And now that it's been knocked down, that musty, damp smell, it just fills the air right now. It must have absolutely permeated every part of this house. Wow, I think I just heard a mosquito buzz by my ear. Would have thought that at this hour there wouldn't be any mosquitoes. They just ate me alive last night while I was shooting that part of the video. But as much as I'd like to go through this with you in a little more detail and share some more pictures of the demolition work, videos of the demolition work as it happens throughout the day, unfortunately I've got to go to work and I'm not going to take any chances playing hooky. They tell me they'll be here at 8:30. It's about 7 o'clock right now, maybe a little later. And they say that they'll have this all cleaned up by dark tonight. And then of course they're supposed to grade the ground, fill in the cistern and the well, and all that good stuff. So we'll see what it looks like later today when I get home, I guess. There's a wall that came down, actually still relatively intact. Even still an electrical wire running through it. Not that it matters now. Alright folks, the cat and I and the neighbor's idiotic pit bulls, which you can hear occasionally yelping in the background, or at least you could, have all convened nearly 12 hours later to bring you the aftermath of what the Roach Palace once was. That's it. Now I know that in our agreement with the gentleman who took it down, he said that he was going to fill in the cistern and the well and grade everything. And to my eye, at least, I would tell you it's not been graded yet. We'll just walk out here and have a closer look at it. But I am about as clued up on grading ground and other construction-related practices as I am fashion sense. And the holes where the cistern and the well were are certainly filled in. So that may well and truly be it. There's the old water meter box and the stub of gas line. I have no idea if that's still active or not. If you crack that open, if there'd be gas coming out, or if they might have that shut off somehow out at the street. It's really hard to tell. Need to pressure wash the door in the side of the garage there. Yeah, it's finally gone. Words do not describe how happy I am. I know I don't sound exactly overjoyed in the video soundtrack, but a lot of that's got to do with the fact that I'm just tired. I'm glad it's Friday evening. There's Kitty again. Maybe he thinks he's going to find a new stomping ground under the trailer. I don't know. Well, folks, till the next few months go by and something video-worthy happens, or I have the time to actually make a video, and believe me, there are plenty of things sitting on the back burner. This has been UXW Bill. I hope you've enjoyed seeing me again. I just want to reiterate that I'm doing well. I'm okay. Crazy busy with work and other things in life. The videos kind of take a back seat to that. But I'm definitely still around. I'm doing all right. Just waiting for the world to get back to normal, if it ever will. I don't know. So thank you as always for watching. And certainly do feel free to leave a constructive comment if you happen to have one.